Belle is a movie that's difficult for me to talk about. There's a lot that I can say, but I'm struggling to find the right words to describe this. The best way I can describe it is that this movie is, to put it simply, beautiful. It is imaginative, it is heartfelt, it is transcendent, it is cinema. It's a movie that left me speechless after watching it. The only other times that has happened were when I watched Silent Voice and Liz, and while, for now, it's not nearly as good as those, this still means a lot to me personally. But I feel like the best way to talk about this is to get the spoiler-free information out of the way before getting into the nitty-gritty of this film, kinda like with Violet Evergarden, so let's just go down the line here. Directed by the Oscar-nominated Mamoru Hosoda of Wolf Children, Mirai, and others, the story of Belle follows a shy and insecure high school girl named Suzu who is struggling to find her place in the world years after she lost her mother. One day she discovers the World of You, a metaverse where the user's hidden strengths are drawn out to make their avatar. Thus her avatar, Belle, is made with the intention of drawing out her strength of singing. However, one night at one of her online concerts, she comes across a user known as the Beast, who is known to be a toxic online presence who destroys everything in his path. But after careful deductions, Suzu becomes curious about who exactly the Beast is and why he does what he does. So, Beauty and the Beast crossed with Summer Wars, with about the same level of transcendent visual innovation as Klaus. Yeah, that's one big plus of the movie. It is stunning to look at. The contrast between the dull setting of the real world and the boundless, imaginative scenery of You is masterful to a T. It expertly captures how Suzu feels about her life outside of the metaverse in comparison to when she's a part of it. Speaking of which, the World of You is just beautiful. The set design, the colors, the landscapes, the buildings, all of it is just amazing, being helped by the input of the legendary Irish animation studio Cartoon Saloon. You know, Wolfwalkers, Secret of Kells, some of the greatest films of all time. Not to mention, some of the avatar designs and animations were done with the help of some Disney animators, notably Jin Kim. And this entire project years ago was approved and encouraged by Glenn Keane himself. Correct me if I'm wrong about any of that, I'm just going by what I heard. And the songs are truly something else. Now, not to diss on Kaho Nakamura, she did a tremendously lovely job, but I specifically went to watch the English version just because I wanted to hear the songs without having to actually read the lyrics, and also to appreciate the visuals, and the music is so spectacular. All of the songs are well crafted and beautifully performed with the voice of Kylie McNeil? Wait, why hasn't Kylie been cast in more works than this? Her voice is hauntingly beautiful, just as good as Nakamura's performance. And her role as Suzu is amazing. She did a great job. I'm so happy for her, and I hope this means she'll find herself a plentiful and fulfilling voice career, kind of like Eva. But of course, a movie can't rely on production value and voice work alone. There's still the story and the characters to talk about, and being a character first, story second kind of person, I am pleased to report that the characters live up to the visual quality of the movie, especially Suzu and the Beast. There are other characters that maybe aren't as important and could have been disposed of, but that would mean removing some of the most charming and hilarious moments in the film. Like, that awkward confession scene had no right to be as funny as it was. Classic Mamoru Hosoda. The story itself is also very well crafted, but the general consensus seems to be that the plotline is the weakest part. It technically isn't completely untrue, but I personally don't think it's as disappointing as people make it out to be. Then again, I think one's enjoyment in the movie will depend on how much they hyped it up, which many people went into the unrealistic expectation zone for this one. If anything, it kind of reminds me of the general reception of Luca. Stop having expectations that are way out there, people. But I do feel that the story itself may have felt a bit fractured in a few areas. Maybe it's the divide between the real world and the world of You being a bit jarring, but we've already talked about how that part was on purpose. Maybe it's the other characters getting an odd amount of attention, but in those moments, they do show subtle developments in Suzu's character. Maybe it's the fact that there are a handful of slow moments, but those actually help the film's pacing given just how much is happening. As you can tell, I haven't come to a full conclusion on this, but for now, I think the real issue is the other social media users, because they have a couple of odd lines sprinkled throughout the plotline that kind of hang over this movie. That's another thing. There are times when the dialogue is top notch in its flow and subtlety, and there are other times when it has the Maya problem with some in-your-face dialogue. There's bruises on his back. His back, it has bruises. Okay, rewatching that clip on YouTube, it's not as bad as I remember. Still, Belle does an amazing job at what it does, and it easily stands as its own separate entity from the tale it's adapting. The comparisons to Beauty and the Beast have been noted, but I was never once reminded of that movie. Suzu's character alone makes this a completely different experience. And it's not just that, there's the world of you, the real world, the identity of the beast, and the message this film is preaching. But I do want to get a bit more in depth with the film's message, which will involve spoilers. If you haven't seen Belle yet, I highly recommend taking a drive to a nearby theater that's actually showing it. I mean, you could wait for that obligatory on-demand release, but this is a movie that was made for the theater experience. Every visual touch and flair, the sound design, and the grandiose in its story and arcs all contribute to a beautiful, unforgettable experience. I get it, time and money and all, but if theaters are an option for you, take that chance and see it. Anyway, as I said, there are similarities between this and Disney's take on the tale, even direct ones, and I just listed some of the most notable differences. However, there is one change to this rendition that makes it such an exhilarating and soul-lifting personal experience, because Belle isn't a love story. It's a story about self-discovery, being kind to others, and coming to terms with how you want to live your life. It's established that years after her mother died saving a child from a storm, Suzu is still grieving over her passing. Writing down her thoughts, she appears to have collected herself from that devastating blow years later, but there is one question that is still constantly on her mind. Why did she have to go? Why did she save that child? Why did she risk her life to save some random kid that wasn't her own? Suzu struggles to come up with an answer for this and is desperate for one, meaning that all these years, she's still holding on to the past. She still hasn't moved through the loss. She still hasn't adjusted to her school life. She still can't stop thinking about why. All that changes when the invite to the world of You is sent to her. It is said many times in the movie that You is designed to draw a user's hidden strengths. After logging on, Suzu assumes that her hidden strength is her voice, but later on, it's revealed that this criteria isn't limited to talent. When the beast comes into the picture, Suzu becomes curious about his wounds and scars. When they finally face each other, there seems to be a different side to him other than his relentless violence in the world of You. He cares for others. He caresses a small little angel, reassuring him that everything will be okay. This further piques Suzu's curiosity, leading her to bond with him and spend more time with him. Even when he's lashing out at her, she's there for him constantly. She cares about him. Even if he doesn't want company, she's still there, doing the same thing. She's reassuring him that somebody is there to listen, to show his true self to her. Contrary to what Suzu believes, the world of You doesn't hide her identity. It brings her hidden self out, and what's hidden inside is both a beautiful singer and an unrelenting, kind, and compassionate human being. All of that is under a painful and soul-sucking surface that she's embodied and needs to acknowledge in order to become a changed person by the end. The same is also true for the Beast, who is eventually revealed to be some kid who's endured his father's abusive behavior, a kid who's protected his little brother from every cruelty of life, a kid who's grieving over his mother similarly to Suzu. Someone who feels just as lost as her and exhibits all that pain and frustration onto others online because he has no power at his home. We live in a time where the internet has become one of the most soul-sucking creations ever. It is astonishing how we're able to communicate with each other with light presses on some buttons and the click of a mouse, but the same can be said for just how easy it is to create a world full of hate and malice. Not even limited to the online world, the entire world is full of cruel and unjust people. Hatred and resentment looms over the world, and it's scary to think about. Everyone is at each other's throats, and it hurts to watch. It hurts to watch everything we've worked so hard for come crashing down. It hurts to watch the entire earth burn to the ground at the hands of so many awful people. It hurts to watch so many people tear themselves apart, thinking that there is no way to help them. But Belle looks us in the eyes and says, there is a way to help people, a way to inspire others, a way to restore faith in humanity, and it starts with you. It starts with kindness. Kindness. Such a simple concept that soars in this film. Suzu's unbending compassion is what builds the bridge for her friendship with Ruka. It's what inspires many people to be a better person, and it's what finally reaches the beast's heart and saves him from his father. Amidst this relentless online chaos, amidst all this agony, in times where all hope seems to be lost, one simple act of kindness is enough to inspire others. And that selfless act doesn't just come from nowhere. Suzu may not know what the beast is going through or even understand it, but what she does understand is that he is grieving, just as she is. They're both grieving, they're both suffering, both of them have nearly given up, but their situation allows them to grow closer to a deeper understanding of each other. And no moment in the film exemplifies this more than the song, "Lend Me Your Voice." Suzu lets the beast know that she's there for him, and while she may not understand, she'll listen. She'll listen to whatever burden he needs to lay down because she has burdens of her own, and she knows how that feels. This entire sequence, along with the song, is a call to everyone going through hard times. It's a reassuring sign that nobody is alone in this. No one has to struggle on their own. No one has to be by themselves. This is a call to those suffering for any reason at all, that their suffering is known and valid because someone is there to listen. This is the magic of empathy. In the middle of virtual wildfire and turmoil, two lost souls dancing in the moonlight, bonding over their struggles and losses, is enough to restore anyone's faith in humanity. Empathy brings people closer. Experiences bring people closer. Even one simple act of goodwill brings people closer. No, it doesn't have to be romantic. No, it doesn't have to be someone you've known your entire life. Just the very thought that somebody out there knows and understands what you're going through may be just enough to get through hard times. All of this is the answer to Suzu's question. Why did her mother save that child? Because she was kind. She was selfless. And that goodwill has carried over to Suzu, as she's actively helping the beast and everyone else around her throughout the story. And her goodwill has inspired others to be just like her. Because, after all, an act of kindness inspires more acts of kindness. And if this is what it takes to create a world free of hatred, a world where everyone isn't angry all the time, a world where those suffering are told that their struggles are valid, maybe we ought to do the same. Maybe we ought to be as selfless, as empathetic, and as compassionate as Belle. Wow, that was a lot to take in. As evident from this mess of a video, I absolutely adore this movie and what it preaches. I haven't even talked about every aspect that I want to talk about, so who knows, maybe I'll make a follow-up review when it comes out on digital, but for now, I'm not 100% sure if it's as good or better than Wolf Children. What I can say is that this movie means a lot more to me personally than Wolf Children. Maybe it's not the best thing in the world, maybe it's not even Hosoda's best work, but this came out at the perfect time. At a time where everyone is going through hardships because of everything that is happening, this is such a soul-lifting and ethereal experience that I cannot recommend enough. If it were released earlier, or if I were to delay my ranking video, it would have easily taken the #1 spot in the 2021 list. It doesn't just work in its presentation and story, it soars. Despite its few missteps and flaws, there is a lot to unpack from a message and production standpoint, and I cannot wait to see it again. I give it an insanely high 9 out of 10. What a masterpiece of a feature film.